New York, 1965. Evening. Cold autumn air permeates the streets of Manhattan, scattering the golden glow of streetlights on the wet asphalt. In the center of the city, amidst the grand buildings and neon signs, stands one of the most elite restaurants. James Stone is a young, dark-skinned man, 25 years old. He is well-dressed. His suit fits perfectly. His shoes are polished to a shine. In his hands, a briefcase with documents, and in his eyes, fatigue after a long day of work. He decides to go to a restaurant to have dinner like any other person. But as soon as he crossed the threshold, the space froze. The waiters stopped moving. The restaurant guests fell silent. Someone even put down his fork. James took a step forward, as if he didn't notice the stairs, and headed for a vacant table. But he knew he was being watched. 10 minutes passed, 15, 20. No one approached him. In front of him stood a young waiter, about 25 years old. He was blonde, with thin features. His name tag read Tom. "If I take your order," he said quietly, "I'll get fired." James clenched his jaw. Of course, how could he not? But Tom continued. "However, I can help. Look at the menu carefully. There's a word on it. If you say it out loud, I'll find a way to serve you." The waiter pretended to simply adjust the cutlery and then left. James slowly picked up the menu and ran his eyes over the pages. The usual specialties: steaks, oysters, wine. But suddenly he noticed him. Among all those words, one stood out: equality. His fingers froze for a moment. James looked up. Tom was watching him from afar. Their gazes met. The boy nodded faintly. James drew in a breath, then spoke loudly, clearly. "I'll take the equality." Silence hung in the restaurant. A few people turned around, but the waiters pretended not to hear. Tom turned and walked away into the kitchen. The minutes passed. The tension was building. And suddenly, outside the window, bright camera flashes lit up. The sirens of police cars broke the silence of the street. Journalists arrived at the restaurant. The people sitting in the room began to look at each other. The restaurant manager ran to the door, trying to figure out what was going on. Tom returned to James's table and placed a dish in front of him. "Your food, sir." James looked up at him. There was a slight smile in the waiter's eyes. As it turned out later, Tom had passed the information on to the reporters. The next morning, all the newspapers reported about the scandal in the restaurant. The owner of the establishment was forced to publicly apologize. Tom was fired. But the same day, he received an offer to work in a famous magazine, which fought for equal rights. And James realized, yes, the world hadn't changed yet. But now he knew that there would always be someone who dared to make a step towards change. Years later, he heard Tom's name again. It was in the history books.